came to Colorado hoping to serve his nation.
I love this country.
But just hours before he was due to graduate from the Air Force Academy, everything changed.
I was literally kicked off.
Some people at the Air Force Academy have declared war on an American citizen.
His diploma gone, his honor called into question.
To this day, I'm considered an embarrassment to some members of my family.
Tonight, Chief Investigative Reporter Tony Kovaleski shares one man's decade-long battle to restore his dignity and his reputation.
We made history going out there. It's something I'm never going to forget for the rest of my life, for sure.
Colorado's Army National Guard trusted Adam DeRito to defend our country.
Whose broad stripes?
To defend the red, white, and blue.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
It kind of takes your breath away. I mean, you sit there and just go, this is what I'm defending.
Specialist DeRito was one of just a handful of Colorado Guardsmen sent to protect our capital and our democracy.
So help you God?
So help me God.
At last month's presidential inauguration. A special assignment requiring the highest of security clearances.
Our presence there allowed everyone to come together and realize that we need to move on.
This is a tale of one man and a stark and significant contrast. Trusted by one branch of the military and betrayed by another.
In 2006, I was accepted to the Air Force Academy, and I came out here to my dream school.
4 years later, just hours before Cadet DeRito was scheduled to graduate.
It was the most crushing moment of my life, and it's a moment I'll never forget.
With his family in the stands, DeRito was stripped of his honor and his degree. At the 11th hour, told he would not graduate for violating Academy rules. Officially, fraternizing with a subordinate.
It's like, there's no way this is happening. There's no way I'm not going to be an officer. There's no way I'm not going to go fly. And it hurt.
DeRito left the academy without a diploma. Instead, he walked away disgraced.
To be fair, was I a perfect cadet? Absolutely not. But did I do anything what your standard cadet would do in college? No, absolutely not.
The Air Force said his record was not worthy of graduating, becoming an officer, and joining the Air Force. DeRito calls it retaliation.
Essentially, you were thrown out of the Air Force Academy.
Yes.
Why?
The Air Force Academy has a history of retaliation against those who report sexual assault. When I was working as an undercover informant for the Office of Special Investigations, I reported over 30 perpetrators of sexual assault and rape at the Air Force Academy.
The decision by the Air Force left DeRito on the hook for more than $200,000 in debt to the federal government for the cost of his 4 years at the Academy.
Luna, come on.
And the Air Force Academy attack on DeRito's character and credibility did not end there. 7 years later, a new discovery.
There are medical records that raise questions about your mental state.
I was weeks away from transferring and becoming a helicopter pilot and start training. And at that point in time, the Army said, we can't send you to helicopter training because the Air Force Academy has put multiple mental health diagnoses on your record.
And here's the medical record DeRito now questions, dated a full year after he left the academy.
Impulse control disorder, personality disorder, narcissistic antisocial personality traits, for a doctor that I never met.
Some people at the Air Force Academy have declared war on an American citizen, Adam DeRito.
Fighting to regain his reputation, DeRito decided to hire a team of attorneys. Together, they filed this lawsuit against the United States of America.
I'm scratching my head. Help me understand what happened here.
I wish I had an answer. We can't figure it out.
DeRito's legal team challenged the validity of the mental health diagnoses. An Air Force board later ruled to correct the record, and this letter from the Department of Air Force specifically directs the removal of all of DeRito's mental health diagnoses.
The order was very clear from the Air Force. Take the diagnoses out of his records. Simple as that. And they did, but then they added new stuff in that now he can't get promoted again.
And that is the heart of this conflict. Specialist Adam DeRito was given a uniform and an assignment last month. Cleared and credible, asked to protect our democracy. And the very same time, he remains locked in a legal and political battle that has his credibility and his military career at a crossroads.
We need to fight this in the courts. We need to fight this politically going forward. This is a lifetime battle. We're just trying to get Adam what he earned.
I think I have proven to this nation that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to protect what it stands for. And I'm hoping that the Air Force Academy realizes that it made some mistakes in the past and that we're willing to move on beyond those and to make sure that what happened to me never happens to anyone ever again.
We reached out to the Air Force Academy and the U.S. Attorney's Office trying to understand why, after a decade, Adam DeRito's legal issues and requests for justice remain unresolved. Both declined our request for interviews, citing ongoing litigation. I'm Chief Investigative Reporter Tony Kovaleski.
We chillin', get high. Shit crazy. Smoke to get my mind right. Chillin'. Trying to get my grind right.
What's up, guys? RNG here from the Stone Vet USMC. Happy Friday, man. You made it to the end of the week. If you like me and you work a 9 to 5, it's Friday. You ain't got to work this weekend, man. But if you, a lot of you venturepreneurs out there that I do help promote and help get out there, get their name out there for everybody, you guys never stop working. It's a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week type job, man. It's Friday. The fucking weather's getting hot here in Oklahoma, man. This humidity is through the roof right now. But we are in Oklahoma, and we've been blessed the last year or so where it's been comfortable, been nice weather. But now that humidity's starting to hit, it's getting warm now. People starting to sweat. You walk outside, you sweat. Any of you guys ever been to Okinawa, you guys know exactly what it's like. You guys know when you get into PT, you get done PT, like, why am I even going to take a shower? Because I'm going to step outside and I'm going to sweat. I'm going to sweat. It's always there, man. So I'm glad you guys are here. Like I always tell you guys, don't forget to hit that daggum subscribe button so you guys know when I got new episodes dropping of the Stone Vet, man. Also, if you in iTunes, you can leave me a 5-star review. I didn't even know that, but apparently that helps with the algorithms. It is what it is, man. But get in there and make sure you hit that 5 stars. Tell me what you think. Always on the Stone Vet on YouTube. You can always go in there and leave me messages. I'll get in there and I always respond back. I will respond back to you. I ain't got nobody else working with me. It's just me, man. I got the honor of bringing on another Army brother, man. I guess they see the Stone Vet USMC. They said, I got to get on that show, man. I got Adam here with me this Friday telling his story, dude. Did y'all see that intro? I'll tell you what, our brother is in trouble and he needs our help. We need to make sure we take care of his six and make sure we protect him, right? That's what we're supposed to do as brothers and sisters, is protect our own, right? Because nobody else is going to protect us. We only protect ourselves, right? What's up, Adam? How you doing today?
Yeah, so it's pretty hot, but it's dry. We have a high altitude plateau out here, so I don't have to sweat like in Okie or anywhere else like that. Because
you probably still got snow up on the mountains, man.
We do. It's quite nice. You got that split climate action going on. So.
Absolutely, man. Man, what a hell of a story you got, brother. I cannot believe the nonsense you're going through right now, man. With the man, it's just sad to see that we as service members have to go through this, going through what you're dealing with and how you're dealing with it, man. I mean, you're serving our country and you're like, I'm serving my country. Isn't there something called the Whistleblower Act, right? I mean, that's what they teach us as a Whistleblower Act, and there's something that protects us, right? That's something that protects us, right?
No, I agree. And the unique thing I don't think a lot of military members know, and something I have discovered over the past 11 years that I've dealt with my case, is that the military is treated as a separate society according to the court system and according to Congress. And right. Basically, the military has become the fourth branch of government. And I believe a lot of that started after 9/11. I mean, after they passed the Patriot Act, right. And you and I both know because we were young enough to remember what happened. On 9/11. And to be fair, I was born in New York. I grew up in New Jersey. I lost family in 9/11. I saw the towers burn from my hometown in New Jersey. So when I joined the military in 2006, I took it personally. I was going over to fight. That was my main objective. And I was fortunate enough. I wasn't the smartest kid in the world, but I busted my ass all through high school. And when I was young, it was my dream to become a fighter pilot. That's what I wanted to do. And I thought, until I learned later that the Marine Corps and the Navy was probably the easiest way to fly, was I was going to go to the Air Force Academy to fly. That was my dream. So I got into my dream school. And it was kind of crazy because when I went out to Colorado in 2006 to start basic cadet training, I thought, yeah, and
I get Air Force.
Well, my opinion of the Air Force changed the second I showed up for basic training because, I grew up watching Jarhead and Saving Private Ryan and Black Hawk Down, and I'm like, everybody who joins the military is a hardcore motherfucker who just wants to go kill terrorists. And when I showed up to the Air Force Academy, I realized something really interesting, and it was there were some people who were there for the right reasons. For example, I met a cadet who was from West Virginia, who was really poor, came from a family of military service, and the first pair of new shoes he ever got wasn't there issued to him at the Air Force Academy.
The daggone go fastest.
So this kid came from humble beginnings, and when he showed up, he was very grateful to be where he was, and he really wanted to serve his country. But about 80% of the cadets that were there, well, there was like my third choice. My dad is a colonel. I just came here because, I'm just trying to make dad happy or mom happy. And I was taken aback by that. Like, I didn't really think that was a thing, that people joined the military because it was like their third or fourth option. For me, it was my first option, unquestionable patriotism. And so throughout my experiences at the Air Force Academy, I realized that I no longer wanted to be in the Air Force, but I needed to finish college. And I didn't want to screw up my commitment because you have to serve 5 years if you go to a Federal Service Academy. So that's Annapolis, West Point, or the Air Force Academy. You have to serve 5 years. And it's a gentleman's agreement that you normally serve in the service branch of the academy that you go to. So if you go to West Point, you go to the Army. If you go to Annapolis, you go to Marine Corps or Navy. And if you go to the Air Force, you stay Air Force. But I didn't know you could cross. So I decided I wanted to become a Marine.
He wanted to be the best. Y'all hear that, right? He wanted to be the best.
So I elected to go to Marine Officer Candidate School during the summer. Going into my final year at the academy, we call it First D year. So your senior year at the academy for the Air Force is called First D. So I went to Marine OCS, graduated, and it was the best experience of my life. It was, and I know there's way harder schools out there and everything else, but at the time, coming from the Air Force Academy, Marine OCS was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. They kicked the shit out of me, and they beat the Air Force out of me. And I came back like 25 pounds lighter. All that Air Force fat was gone, and I was just a chiseled jarhead, like screaming motherfucker in my Marpats, and could not wait to start pilot training to be a naval aviator. And wanted to go Harriers so I could be one of the first F-35 guys.
Badass. He wanted to be a badass.
And all that got cut short. It got taken away, and I think that's the reason why you contacted me. So my first public discussion of this was on Andy Stump's podcast.
Andy Stump, you guys hear that? This guy was on the Andy Stump podcast. If you guys don't know Andy Stump, he up there with Joe Rogan and fucking what's that? What'd you say that crazy Navy SEAL guy's name? Jocko. He's up there in that category. And guess what? Adam decided to come hang out with the Stone Vet, man. I said it's a pleasure to have him.
The crazy part was I heard his episode with Eddie Gallagher, and Eddie Gallagher has a very interesting story dealing with Naval Criminal Investigation Division, or NCIS or whatever. And although I'm not a Navy SEAL and I've never been deployed to combat, and I didn't get accused of murder, I had a very similar experience with Air Force OSI when I was at the academy. And I reached out to Andy, and he said, "Fuck it, man, come on my show." And I'm like, "Wow, well, that just went from 0 to 100
real fast."
So I flew up to Montana, and I interviewed with Andy, and some people really believe me. Some people are like, this guy's full of shit. There's no fucking way that the Air Force Academy would waste that much time and effort and manpower screwing somebody over. And well, I'm here to tell you that the Air Force Academy is very protectionist of its football team, Division I sports and monetary gain, and they will do whatever it takes to protect that community. And I opened up a can of worms there, and it's been going on for 11 years now. This past May was the 11th year anniversary of me starting my case. But basically what it comes down to, bottom line up front, as Army people like to say, is I was sexually assaulted when I was at the Air Force Academy, and I reported it, and I ended up working as an undercover informant for the Office of Special Investigations, helping to root out sexual assault and rapes at the Air Force Academy to get those people kicked out so they don't become commissioned officers in the Air Force. And when the 3-star General Michael Gould, found out that that's what was going on, he accused me of fraternization, gave me an Article 15 for frat, which is bullshit. Because, I mean, I don't know one person who doesn't have like 28 Article 15s who isn't promoted, right? And then on top of that, he gave me 50 demerits, which pushed me over the so-called demerit limit at the academy for wearing my Eagle, Globe, and Anchor on my uniform, which was authorized because I earned it. Right. And that's actually what they used to kick me out of the academy. And the crazy part was I finished graduation. I wasn't allowed to walk at graduation, but I finished all my classes, finished all requirements to commission. I stayed 30 days after graduation, as my punishment. I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to go to Quantico, start the basic school right after this. And at the last second, at the 11th hour, the general changed his mind. And he kicked me out on the highway and said, fuck you, figure out your life. And that was it.
Ah, damn, dude. And with the Air Force, if you guys know, any of you Air Force guys, any of you airmen are watching the show, I doubt it, because I think you guys got probably better things to do than to hang out with the Stone Vet and us Army guys, But the Air Force is they're sticklers for stupid shit. Like you said, people say, nah, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't waste that much. They would. The fucking Air Force has nothing but time and money in their hands, and they're going to do whatever they want. If they don't like you, they will burn your ass, and they will do everything they can to burn you just because they don't like you. I see it firsthand. I work for the Air Force as a civilian, and I see it on a daily basis. I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, what has driven you guys to go this angle at it? And like you say, you've been dealing it for 11 years, and you're like, dude, this is fucking ridiculous. I'm gonna get justice. I'm gonna make sure I get my justice because you guys are doing me wrong, And hopefully, at the end of it, you won't get paid.
Yeah, what the crazy part about it is, at first I thought, okay, maybe I've done some dumb stuff as a cadet. I'm not perfect, right? Like, for example, the one thing I get criticized all the time for is, well, how did you end up working for OSI? So here's how this happened. And I actually found out through a private investigator that most likely none of this happened and it's untrue. So and this is how OSI works, right? But back then they were having a serious problem with drug trafficking, sexual assault, and all this other stuff. And I always pissed off my commander because he hated me. And he was, I don't know, how do you Marines say it? Pogue. Like, he never deployed, never did anything.
Yeah, he's a pogue.
So this guy was a 17-year major who never deployed in the GWAT, or Global War on Terror. Don't ask me how you pull that off. Don't ask me how you pull that off.
How the hell do you do that?
So needless to say, when I came back from Marine OCS and realized what I was going to be doing, or hoped that I was going to do, that I had, at 22 years old, had absolutely no respect for this 04.
And the sad part is that's how a lot of Air Force people are. Like, you see these guys, they'll be like 20 years. They did 20 years, and you look at their ribbon stack, and you're like, you never left the country. You never went to the desert. You never went to the mountains. You stayed here the whole 20 years of your career. It's like, how do you get respect from your freaking troops if you never deployed a day in your life? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and me being a Marine, or attempting to be a commissioned officer in the Marine Corps, I asked him once, I'm like, well, sir, how am I supposed to learn how to lead my Marines into combat if you've never led airmen yourself? He didn't like that answer.
Of course not. Either.
So needless to say, I spent a lot of my time as a cadet sitting in my room on something we call confinements. So there's Cadet DeRito on timeout for all eternity with this guy, Lieutenant Colonel Gregory P. Christensen. And I still think he works in the Pentagon now. He got promoted for fucking me over. So I think he's a 1-star at this point. And
that's how it works.
So back then there was no smartphones in 2008, right? There's no smartphones. Facebook was only a year old at that time. So back then the cadets used to go on like dating websites to like meet local girls because the whole theory was, don't date cadets, don't do blue, right? Stay away from, you don't want to get in trouble with that stuff or make things complicated and awkward in class. So I was talking to this, who I thought was this 19-year-old woman online for like 2 months. And then she eventually like stopped talking to me because she's like, well, you could never leave base and we could never meet. And I'm like, yep, well, that's the end of that. So we leave for Christmas break or Christmas leave. And I come back in like January, and it was like March or February timeframe of that year. And I get a knock on my door from my commander. And he's like, hey, you got to come down to Air Force OSI. They want to talk to you. I'm like, who the fuck is Air Force OSI? I didn't even know who that was. And I go down there, and it's like the stereotypical like mirrored room, steel chair, no one's in there. And I'm like, all right, what the fuck is this shit? So now keep in mind, I'm 19 at the time, right? Like I'm an idiot.
He's a baby.
Like, I don't know.
You're like, what
I don't
the
know.
fuck did I get myself into?
I could barely like shine my boots because we still shine boots back then. We still had black boots back then, right? And BDUs.
Right.
And I'm sitting in this room, and these people walk in. They're like, so is this your email address? I'm like, yep. They're like, were you talking to this email address, which happened to be that other 19-year-old girl that I was talking to, right? And like, did you know that she's not 19, that she's actually underage? And I'm like, no. And I've also never met this person nor talked to them on the phone. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. and they're like, oh, well, since you didn't know, it's not a big deal. How would you like to work for us? And that's how they recruited me. So they made me think. They made me think that I was doing something wrong.
Something good.
But I wasn't doing anything wrong, and I never met this person. But to be fair, before I went to the academy, I was also a firefighter. I was an EMT. I worked for a search and rescue unit, like in my hometown. So they kind of played that against me, like, well, you're always trying to do the right thing, and you've worked with law enforcement before when you were at home in New Jersey. And I'm like, yeah. And I thought it was really weird how they knew so much about me. But I didn't pick up on that because I'm a moron. And like, well, we're having a problem at the academy. And they also knew that I wanted to be a Marine. They knew I didn't have loyalty to Air Force cadets, right? So that's why they targeted me to be a source, because they were just like, you have no problem basically narking on cadets who are doing illegal things. And I said, no, absolutely not. I'll send them all to prison. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, to be fair, if you're dealing drugs or trying to have sex with minors, or you're doing illegal things or raping people at the Air Force Academy, you probably shouldn't be a commissioned officer. And that's just my personal opinion. And I'm pretty sure most people would agree with me.
Absolutely.
I was a huge fan of the Chris Hansen show, To Catch a Predator, back then, which was still in its infancy stages. So actually I would like watch that show on YouTube and like, oh, I'm going to use that technique next time I take down somebody, because all the work I did as an informant was online. You know what I mean? Like, we'd be talking to cadets in chat rooms and trying to get them to meet, or, trying to get them to go to parties or figure out information. And then I'd take all that information and I'd email it to OSI on a secret email address or a text message and send it to my special agents, the handlers, Agent Mike Munson and Agent Dave Szymanski. So to me, I thought what I was doing was a good thing. And, I didn't think about how they screwed me over, how they got me to become an informant. I didn't think much of it, but I didn't get in any trouble. They're like, well, you're just going to sit more confinements in your room for misuse of government network for using a dating website on your cadet issued laptop. I'm like, okay, well, I can't leave anyway, so I might as well fucking tack on another 20, make it 40. You know what I mean? Like, I already hated my commander at the time, so I'm like, go ahead. What do you make it 100? Just tack it on there.
Just tack it on there. Where am I going to go? He's going to be tired of me before it's over.
And just like when I got back from OCS, man, when I refused to take off my Eagle Globe and Anchor off my Air Force uniform, which was, to be fair, was an authorized uniform device because it was a school that I completed.
Absolutely. Just like Ranger School and everything else. I mean, you can.
Yeah, and I absolutely refused to take it off my uniform, and like right in front of my entire like squadron, and they made me sit in my room for like 200 hours for that. It was bad. I stuck to my guns though, and I was right. I wasn't wrong. I said this is an unlawful order because this is an authorized device.
Because you're a fucking jarhead. We all hard-headed as hell. You already know that.
And
we do what we want.
I also told them, like, well, you're supposed to be a commander in leadership of cadets, and if you actually knew your own rule book for the cadet uniform standards, you would know that this is an authorized device. Probably not the best answer to give an officer and a senior NCO, but hey, fuck it. I was already up Schitt's Creek, so I mean, like I said,
was already up it, and
Add
What,
another
just like
20 confinements. You know what I mean? Just stack them on.
just keep going. Well, I'll stay in the fucking room. What are you gonna do? What do you want to do? What do you want me to do? I'm gonna just keep tacking it up, you know.
Yeah. So I mean, while I was working for OSI, though, I mean, I got to leave one weekend, and who I thought were my battle buddies, as you call them, you know, we went to a party up at Colorado State University one night, and we went out and had a few drinks with these college kids we didn't really know, but then they left me there. They left me at the party, and they abandoned me there, and I had a second drink, and when this person handed it to me, I don't know if anyone's been roofied before, but I blacked out. And keep in mind, I was a 225-pound rugby player, you know, college athlete. I'm also Irish, and I'm from New Jersey. So I know how much I can drink. And especially at, 21 years old, I can handle my own. And I knew something was wrong. Because when I had that second drink, the next thing I remember was waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and all my clothes were taken off, and it looked like somebody had washed down my body with 60 grit sandpaper, right?
Oh, man.
So I had the worst headache in the world. I went and sat in a Denny's for like 4 hours and like drank a pot of coffee and tried to eat biscuits and gravy to try to sup up whatever was in my stomach. Because keep in mind, I was an EMT before then. So I knew like I need to get this out of my stomach, and I didn't have any like activated charcoal in my truck or anything. So to be fair, I missed formation because I was late getting back to formation on Sunday because I was fucked up and I couldn't drive. So my commander didn't care. So he's like, oh, you missed formation. Now you're in trouble. So I actually formally reported the assault. And he's like, well, you're just reporting the assault because you're trying to get out of trouble. And I'm like,
what
and
the fuck am I going to report an assault for, man? Come on.
And to be fair, like, especially back in 2008, 2009 timeframe, like, no one believes you now. Never mind, 12 years ago,
right?
Especially a guy, right? So,
right.
But and over my course of all the advocacy work I've been doing for the past decade plus a year, I've actually discovered that more males are sexually assaulted in the military than females. The males just don't talk about it. It's
we don't
embarrassing.
say anything about it because, like you said, it's embarrassing. I don't know. I mean, maybe some of the guys that are watching the show, maybe they were sexually assaulted at one point or another, and they were just like, do I say something about it, or do I just sit back and say, did I enjoy it? Well,
I mean, fucking off in the barracks, guys pile on top of a dude and take a rifle and shove it up his ass because they're fucking with him. But technically, that's assault, right? I mean, you can't. If you did that to a female, that probably wouldn't go over too well for you, right? But because we're men and we think it's just a boys thing, we don't think much of it, right? And it's a different culture now, and it's a different environment. And one thing I've come to respect is you have to learn to listen to people and respect them. And to be fair, after all the interviews I've done with people, I know when somebody's bullshitting me about sexual assault, and I understand. I know there is false reporting out there, but it's very uncommon. Right. It's very uncommon. And those people normally just out for monetary gain. They're just trying to get money out of it or something, other financial gain, or steal somebody's wife kind of thing, some kind of weird, triangle love shit. Yeah. But for the most part, I would say 99% of the people that I've interviewed and tried to advocate for over the years, they're all telling me the truth.
And a lot of them are when it comes to MST. Like I said, like I was telling you earlier, I've had a few service women on the show. I've had Leah Day on here. I've had Robin. I've had her on here. She's Army. They're both Army. And then I've had some great guests on here, but it's just shocking to see how often these females are suffering from MST while serving their country, and it sucks. I mean, is it a men's military? Yeah, it's a men's military. We understand that, and we're trying to integrate more females into it. But I mean, during that time, the females they are going to get sexually assaulted. They are going to get sexually harassed while serving because we're men, and we apparently can't control ourselves when it comes to seeing a beautiful woman next to us,
And another part of it too is that there are some men who just don't want to say anything. Same thing with females. You know what I mean? And when I first joined the military, and I'm sure when you were in too, the don't ask, don't tell policy existed. Yeah. So it was a taboo thing, but now it's open. And I serve with gay and lesbian, LGBTQ, whatever. And I don't mean that in a derogatory term. I'm a straight guy, so I don't know all the symbols, and maybe that's because of my own ignorance. I'm a dumbass,
I think they just keep adding and keep adding and keep adding to it. So I don't even know where it's at anymore. I don't know.
And to be 100% honest, I've never had a problem with anyone in the military in terms of whoever they identify as, and I actually, to be fair, some of them are more empathetic and I understand the human condition better because they've had to learn to be accepted in a community where they were once not allowed to be in. You know what I mean? So it's been a great experience.
I think during my time, like I said, I served in 01. I think during my time, I mean, we knew the guys who were quiz. We knew.
Sure.
The people who, we knew.
But they couldn't say anything openly because they didn't want to get kicked out, right?
They didn't want to get kicked out for it or whatever. And I don't know how it is now. They probably walking around all as gay as they want to be or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, no, it's completely open now. And I mean, I serve in the National Guard now, and we have gay service members and lesbian service members in the Guard. And honestly, it's hey, I respect your rights as long as you respect mine, and it's cool. Everything's fine.
And I think that's where our country's at right now is just, you can do you, whatever you want to do, however you want to do it, just as long as it doesn't affect me and doesn't affect my family and my rights. Do whatever you want. That's on you. And I think that's the problem with our country is a lot of people are like, well, I don't agree with them. That's okay. You don't have to agree with them. That's fine. That's your right. You don't agree with them, But but if I have something and you don't agree with me, that's fine. But don't tell me I can't do it because you don't agree with it.
Exactly. And so how did I get in the Guard? I guess so.
Yeah.
So
after everything, after all this crap, how are you still able to join the Guard?
So that, like I said, it's crazy. And going back to it is the way that. So I got a general discharge under honorable conditions from the academy, which basically means honorable conditions, you don't get your GI Bill benefits or any of your benefits, go fuck yourself. And I didn't understand why. I mean, there's people who've done way worse things to me that have gotten better than that, right? So I got out, I'm like, man, this is all over misconduct, this is over confinements, and this is the one criticism I've got in the past because I didn't talk about this on Andy's podcast because I thought the Air Force grad, the West Point grad, and Annapolis grad community would come after me for this, was that this is all over Division I football. I would say 90% of the people that I reported for rape and sexual assault were members of the Division I football team.
No shit.
And it's a taboo
their football
subject.
team ain't even that good. Their football team ain't even that good. They're not even good.
This isn't like LSU or anything.
We would like to give a huge thanks to Rafa 180. Rafa 180 offers pure medicinal CBD and products made locally. They walk alongside individuals to achieve a healthy lifestyle with options needed by each person. You can learn more about them on Facebook at Rafa CBD, their website www.rafa180.com, or email at rafacbd@gmail.com. They truly believe your journey matters.
Nobody watches Air Force football. The game they watch. What do they watch? The Army Marine Corps, the Army Navy game. That's the only fucking game out of the Armed Service. That's the only one that means anything. Nobody watches the fucking Air Force, dude. Are you kidding me?
I know. Don't tell them that. It hurts their feelings.
It hurts their feelings.
Yeah, actually, the funny and just to backtrack slightly, the funniest Marine Corps story I have is when I was at Marine OCS. I was an Air Force guy, so I had no idea anything about the Marine Corps. I didn't even know what a deck was or a bulkhead.
You were learning all the Navy terminology, those Starboy side trousers,
pants, and
I gotta go to the head. I gotta go to the head. What the fuck you gotta go to the head for?
I know, it was so confusing for like 2 weeks, but they beat the Air Force out of me, and this is one of those situations where we're doing this like shitty ruck march, and by ruck march I mean running with a 65-pound ruck on up Da Nang in the middle of the woods.
So in the Navy and the Marine Corps, we don't call that rucks. We call that a hump. We going on a hump. We going for a hump.
It was one hell of a fucking hike, that's for sure. So
that's what we try to tell people. I say it's a hump. We going on a hump. We don't do ruck marches. We don't do whatever the Army calls it. Air Force don't do shit. So I mean,
no, they barely rifle qual.
No shit.
No shit. They don't rifle qual unless you're like security forces. Yeah, unless you're security forces or a cop.
Even then, all they do is pistols qual. And then when they say that, I rifle qual, you rifle qual on a pistol course, dude. You didn't rifle qual. Shut the fuck up. Get out of here, dude. You didn't rifle qual. Don't get the. I see it on a regular basis over here on this Air Force base. They're like, I'm going to rifle range. I say you went to a pistol range and you put on 300 mark silhouettes saying that you can shoot a rifle now.
At 25 meters.
At 25 meters. Yeah. Like, that don't mean shit, dude. I'll tell you what, it's different when you're actually hitting it from 300
Yep.
yards, from 500 yards. It's a different target, completely different, you know. But I mean, so how does that work, man? Like, so you got out, they gave you a general under honorable condition discharge, which means fuck you, you don't get anything you've earned while serving.
Pretty much.
And now you're able to join the National Guard. How the hell does that happen? How does that work?
Yeah, so well, like I said, in the Marine Corps when I was doing that hike, Gunner Sergeant Alessio comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, are you a Blue Falcon?" And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, Blue Falcon. I'm like, well, that's the mascot of the Air Force Academy. Like, there's a Blue Falcon. That's the mascot of the Air Force. So I'm like, this candidate, Gunnery Sergeant. He's like, what? And I'm like, this candidate is a Blue Falcon. I had no idea what the fuck I was saying because I thought he was accusing me of being an Air Force guy, and I was disagreeing with him. And that motherfucker made me run satellites around the entire company for like 6 hours. So my 6 mile ruck march was like 25 probably.
He's like, fly, motherfucker,
and then all these like prior service Marines pull me aside who like DeRito, you just basically said you're a buddy fucker for like 4 hours. And I'm like, oh, God damn it. You know, so needless to say, I learned my lesson the hard way. And this is why I love the Marine Corps, because we're all just morons. Running around with heavy shit, guns.
We really are. We're running around with heavy shit and guns. That's what the fuck we do.
So yeah, to answer your question, so basically I got discharged from the academy 30 days after graduation. Even though I completed my degree, they withheld my commission, withheld my degree. So I'm appealing to get back in, and the Secretary of the Air Force is like, no, you're not getting anything back. And I'm like, man, like, what the fuck did I do? Like, I didn't even do anything that bad. But the problem is that my DD-214 was signed by the Chief of Staff of the Air Force. There's no way. Like, I went to because technically, so I went back to school real quick. I got another degree done. I only need to do like 20 credit hours because I had 156 hours from the academy. So I'm like, fuck, I already completed OCS. I just have to have a bachelor's, and then I'll just go to the Marine Corps. And I did my bachelor's degree, finished it in like 2012, so like 2 years after the academy, right? So I was working as a personal trainer, going to school. I'm like, fuck the Air Force. I'm just going to go to the Marine Corps. And the Marine Corps is like, bro, your DD-214 is signed by the Chief of Staff of the Air Force. I'm not touching this with a 39.5-foot pole. Like, what did you do? And I'm like, I was accused of fraternization. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I got an Article 15 for a frat, and I refused to take off my EGA, and I got kicked out for that. They're like, you're lying. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. And I'm like, no, that's what happened. So no one would take me. The Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Army. And I'm like, fuck, man. So I ended up getting a job in the oil and gas industry. And I started with hydraulic fracturing, and I met a lot of vets there. So it was like, I'm going to move on from the military. I'm just going to go live my life. And, you know, the Air Force put this $300,000 debt on my credit report because of the academy. You know, and they're garnishing my wages.
Work, though? But you were fucking.
So if you
did what you're supposed to do.
If you complete a federal service academy, you owe 5 years of active duty service. And since they wouldn't let me complete 5 years of active duty service, they said I had to pay them back for a degree they refused to give me.
But they fucking told you can't finish your years of service.
Right. So it's a catch-22.
I can do it, but you're telling me that you're not going to allow me to do it now.
And keep in mind, I did nothing criminal. I was never charged with anything. It was like a BS Article 15. Like, how many
you drove around and killed people, you know? Golly, I got Marines out the wazoo with Article 15s, dude. That's a daily thing.
Exactly. And when you try to tell them, like, this is all over covering up rapes on the football team and money laundering, you know, through federal contractors to the Air Force football team, they're like, no, there's no way. You're just a conspiracy theorist. I'm like, follow the money, dude. Look at the Air Force. Look at the Air Force Academy Athletic Association.
You're a conspiracy theorist.
But if you follow the money, if you follow the money, it all makes sense, right? The Air Force Academy Athletic Corporation allows as a 501(c), which is a nonprofit, which allows anonymous donors. Well, who are those anonymous donors? Well, you can find out who they are. Just go to their website and scroll down to the bottom of the page. Boeing, Lockheed Martin, USAA. So basically, it's you scratch
all the people who are buying the airplanes for the fucking Air Force. That's where they're buying the planes from. You donate to us, we buy planes from you. It's a fucking handshake agreement.
So you get it, and you're a Marine. So if you can figure it out, I'm pretty sure any civilian can figure it out, right?
That's such bullshit.
And the problem is a lot of these generals, superintendents from the Air Force Academy, grads from the Air Force Academy or West Point or Annapolis, when they leave our service, they're not like me where I went out and found a new job in a new industry.
No.
I found a new purpose in a different industry. Who do they end up working for? They end up working for these contractors.
The contractors that they've been bringing in to feed the money in.
So it's a giant circle jerk. I call it the giant academy circle jerk. And I was going to ruin their little plans by reporting them all for sexual assault and rape, and they don't like that. So that's why Cadet DeRito, who wanted to be a Marine, had to go away. Right? And I didn't figure this out 2 years later. So I finally had enough money where I could pay my bills. I met a fantastic woman, Ashley, who has been very supportive of me over my entire case. And I hired a good attorney because I could afford one now. And it's Dr. Matthew Greify. Who is Dr. Matthew Greify? Well, he's the youngest junior enlisted Marine to ever earn his PhD and law degree. So he was a 01, 03 Marine, got fucked up in parts of Fallujah and stuff, or he got out in 05, I think. And he wasn't allowed to go to recon because he had too much shrapnel in his knee. So he said, fuck it, I'm going to go to law school. And that's what he ended up doing. And me and him met in a gym one day. And he's like, if you help fix my knee for my VA stuff, then I'll help do your case. So it was a Marine. Shit. Yep. So it was a Marine who helped this half-ass Marine who's just an OCS Marine. And then he started finding all these different arguments, all these things that were wrong in my case, that things I didn't see before. And it opened up a whole different avenue. So one day I took a chance and I went to the National Guard's office. And I'm like, look, I know everyone gives shit to the Guard. Even when I was a cadet, I gave shit to the Guard. And they're like, hey, you're that DeRito guy that was in the news, right? So I had an article in the news at the time. They're like, we kind of been waiting for you to come in here. I know that sounds weird, but we figured everyone else was telling you to fuck off. But
we'll take care of you.
So here is how this happened. Well, this old E7, who's probably been in for like 40 years, right? Because that's how the Guard works. Breaks open this like rule book. It's like a scene out of a movie, man. There's like dust coming off the book as he's like open up this rule book, and he goes, "So your DD-214 is signed by the Chief of Staff of the Air Force's office, but the National Guard's Commander-in-Chief is the governor. So he can actually write you an override to override your federal DD-214 if you want to serve in the National Guard with his permission." But they said there's a catch. Of course there's a catch.
Why would it be?
My thinking was, if I can get back into the Guard, I can start serving some of my time back. Even if it's not full active duty time, if I owe 5 years active duty, it might be like 12 years Guard or whatever.
Right, whatever. But I mean, you still get your 2 weeks and then any deployments that come up or whatever.
Right. So but I'd rather do that than owe $300,000.
No shit.
Right. So they're like, so here's your 3 conditions for coming back into the military. Now I'm 27 at the time, right? 2015. Rule number 1. And I had completed my master's degree at this time too. Like I was working full blown oil field. I was an engineer. I've been all around the country, hydraulic fracturing, wireline, blowing shit up. Had a great civilian career. Love my civilian career. Still love my civilian career more than the Army. But because it gave you that purpose outside the uniform, right? But I still want to go back and serve my country, even though I know a lot of this had to do with the Air Force bullshit. At the end of the day, I still love this country, and I'm willing to write that check, so to speak. So they said, even though you have a master's degree, the highest rank we can put you in because of your situation with the Air Force is E4. I'm like, motherfucker. So for the Army, the terminal lance position in the Marine Corps is the equivalent to specialist. So
yes.
So I'm like, all right, I'll bite that bullet. I will bite that bullet. I will accept my place in life. And they're like, what's condition? Now, keep in mind, I completed the Air Force Academy. I completed Marine OCS. And now I have to go into the Army National Guard as a specialist. I'm like, all right, fine. I'll do it. What's the second condition? He goes, well, you've had a 5-year break in service since you got out in 2010. So you have to go back to basic training. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Motherfucker.
So I completed the Air Force Academy. I completed Marine OCS. And now at 27 years old, as an E4, I have to go back through basic training.
And you the specialist in boot camp.
Dude, I'm like older than everybody. I'm like older than the drill sergeants, right? I'm like, God damn it. So whatever.
Oh, man.
So I'm like, well, what's the third condition of me going back in? And they said the third condition is you have to go into special operations, and you have to prove yourself. So I went in as a support guy to the 19th Special Forces Group as a rigger. They gave me two choices. They said generator mechanic or parachute rigger. Those are your only two choices because that's the only slots available. So for the guard, it goes by slots available, right?
Yeah.
So I said, well, I jumped out of planes at the Air Force Academy, and I like parachutes, so fuck it, I'll go be a parachute rigger. So I show up to basic training at Fort Jackson in 2015, and immediately everyone thought I was CID. And they're like, there is no way that you're not here to fuck everybody over. And then the drill sergeant is like a ranger. He's like a tab and scroll ranger. He's like from battalion, right? And he Googles Adam DeRito on Google. He's like, this motherfucker worked for OSI. They're like, he is 100% CID. They're like, don't believe a word. This guy's got a master's degree. You're like, get the fuck out of here. They're like, this guy's here to put us all out of a job, right? So, and I'm like, no, Sergeant, this basic trainee is actually here to serve his country. And then they go, did you speak about yourself in the third person? And I'm like, yeah, this guy's a fucking Marine too. Get him the fuck out of here. Because in Marine OCS, like a Marine basic, you know that you talk yourself in the third person. Yes. That's not a thing in the Army. Don't do that in the Army.
This recruit needs to use that, sir.
Yeah, so you immediately revert back to your most lowest level of training. So when you're getting screamed up, like, this candidate, it's like, what do you mean this candidate? There's no candidates here. And who is this? This? You know what I mean? So you get it. Yeah. So needless to say, basic training was extremely easy for me because nobody fucked with me because they thought I was there to put them out of a job. So, and all the basics hated me because they're like, why is this old man, because I was 27 years old, these kids are 18, 17 years old,
all young in their prime and shit.
Well, they're all privates and I'm an E4, right? So they don't understand what the fuck's going on. Either do I, to be honest.
Did you get to wear your rank on your uniform?
Oh yeah.
Yeah? Oh shit.
Yeah, so I'm like one rank below like half the sergeants there, you know what I mean? So that was an interesting experience. It was a cake, but for example, everyone's getting smoke checked out on the range because we do a lot of shooting in Army Basic, to be fair. Actually, They actually changed it. There's a lot of shooting, a lot of rucking and stuff. So I actually enjoyed it. It was kind of just like a workout camp for me. I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, right. You're like, fuck, I've done worse.
Oh, dude, Marine OCS was 20 times worse. I'm like, this is nothing. I'm like, I have to get up, work out, and shoot guns all day. I can do this.
I can do this. Just as long as my face ain't in the fucking swamp, fucking try to slow crawl through that fucking shit.
Well, the best part was I went to Fort Jackson in October, going into the wintertime. So it wasn't humid and swampy. It was kind of cool and nice. So
yeah.
Yeah, because I went to Quantico in July. Fuck that. That sucks. The Quigley, dude, I lost 20 pounds getting out of bed. You know what I mean? This is dumb. So anyway, I complete basic training, and then I had to go to airborne school. You actually have to pass airborne school before you become a rigger, whether it's in the Marine Corps, the Army, the Air Force, or the Navy. And rigger school is the same for all branches of service. So they actually send everybody who's a rigger to Army rigger school. So I go to airborne school, and it was a blast. I got to hang out. It was kind of a weird time because there was a lot of guys going through actual special operations pipeline. So I hung out with a lot of SEALs, Green Beret guys who were in the pipeline, Air Force Special Tactics. There wasn't a lot of conventional 82nd Airborne guys going through at the time, right? So most of it was guys going through the pipeline or group support guys or special operations support guys going through the pipeline. So that was a blast. Almost died on my second jump because I had to pull my reserve because I jumped out on a red light because I was sitting in that plane for so many hours. I'm like, fuck this. I don't even care if my chute opens. Just get me out of the plane. I'm going to throw up everywhere. So I jumped out of the plane and my chute got all twisted up, and then I had to pull my reserve, and then I got yelled at for pulling my reserve. It's pretty much like, you should have died with honor. I'm like, fuck that. I'm pulling the reserve, man.
You gave me an extra one. I got to pull it.
Well, once I pulled the second one, all the twists came out of my first one. So I actually landed with 2 full shoots. So my fat ass really enjoyed that because I landed nice and soft. So yeah, then I go to rigger school at Fort Lee, Virginia, and actually was with a bunch of Marines and Navy and Air Force guys. So that was inter-service stuff, and it was kind of funny because the Marines were getting smoked in PT every morning because they did Marine Corps PT. You know what I mean? Running around with logs and shit. We're doing this Army PT where it's like, touch your toes. I'm like, oh, this is so embarrassing, you know what I mean? But the same thing happened when I was there. Like this E8 who was like a rigger god in the Army. Like, no, this is rigger school. So it's like the best of the best riggers are there teaching AIT or advanced individual training.
Right.
And he like walks into the room to like intimidate us. Huge, giant African-American man, just, you know, badges, school badges up his chest, walks in with a battle axe, like a battle axe. And I'm like, now keep in mind, this is like what? I don't even know how long I've been in the Army at this time, like 5-6 months at the time. I just start laughing. I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. That was not the right response. So
who the fuck are you, Dorito?
So this E8 like holds his battle axe and he said, "You get in my fucking office right now." I'm like, "Yes, Sergeant." So I get up and I run and stand at parade rest, and like they're just trying to ruin me. And they pull out my file and they're like, "Oh, Dorito, let's see what you're all about, Dorito." And they open it up. They're like, "Air Force Academy, Marino CS, 27 year Master's, you're CID." I'm like, "God damn it!" And
No.
So they put me. They're like, "All right, here's how we're gonna fix this. You're now in charge of everybody. You're the student command sergeant major." I'm like, "God damn it,
damn it, damn it!"
So now I'm in charge of like 400 privates, and anything that happens is my fault. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty standard. Anyway, regardless, finish AIT. It was great. Go back to my unit, report in, and have a blast, jumping, shooting guns. And my commander comes up to me and he's like, "You know what? You've done 2 years here, so now it's 2017, right? 2017 rolls around. So I've been in the Guard for 2 years. They're like, you know, why don't you go back and go to get your shot? Go try to commission again. You know, you've earned it." I'm like, all right, time to move on from my academy life. So I found a slot to go to Utah to be an Apache helicopter pilot. I mean, I quit my job. I was going to Fort Rucker. Like I was going to have my orders printed out. I was all ready to go. Full active duty for a couple years. And I was all about it. I get to the final station in Med and they're like, "Hey man, we can't let you go." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They pull out my file and they're like, "Well, you have several major psychological conditions from the Air Force Academy." I'm like,
"Get the fuck out of here."
I'm like, "Wait, what are you talking about? I've been in Army Special Operations for 2 years with a security clearance packing life-saving equipment, and this never came up on my record."
Right.
But now when I want to become a commissioned officer, something magically shows up. Now I found out like this is all for a reason. Now things about my case at the Air Force. I'm like, so it wasn't like, "Oh, Dorito, we just hated him. Fuck this Marine guy."
Right.
You know, whatever about football. This is like, oh, they're trying to keep me quiet. They're trying to stop me for a reason. And now it all makes sense. The Air Force Academy and many other branches of service too, but they use mental health records as a weapon to punish people that they can't really nail anything on, but no one will question them on it. Because you could say I'm not crazy, but then they say, "Well, yeah, your records say you're crazy, so obviously you're lying."
Right.
Then I found out that my medical records, well, I got discharged in June of 2010. Okay. Well, my medical records say I was diagnosed in 2011. How is that possible? I'm a civilian. And I'm like, now I have the means to go after them legally. I have evidence of retaliation for reporting sexual assault and harassment and everything else that was going on at the time. And they retaliated against me. The reason why it was date and timestamp that we believe in 2011 is because a lot of the kids who I reported were going through court-martial in 2011, 2012. So they had to find a way to keep that evidence that I produced out of court by saying I was crazy. So none of those people were convicted. And most of those people, out of the 30 people I investigated, only 2 of them were convicted, and they didn't even serve any prison time. They just walked and got discharged. So now it's all making sense now, right?
Right.
So, I mean, this is my 7th year in the Guard. I've been trying to commission for several years now and filed the federal lawsuit and got all the way up to 10th District Court. And actually, this is new information for your podcast. So you're the first one to hear it, right? So
all right.
Went to the 10th District Court of Appeals. I mean, this is right below the Supreme Court. Highest it can go. And they come back and they say, "We agree. Your constitutional rights were violated." Well, it gets better, though. The falsification of your medical records is, in fact, a violation of your constitutional rights. However, it is not up to us. It is not up to the courts of the United States to give you justice because the military is a separate society and they go by their own rules. And this goes back exactly to the beginning of our conversation where the military has become too powerful. And this has been my advocacy now, is that our own court system will not tell the military what to do, even when they're in the wrong. And that's very dangerous. And this is why I started the Dark Sabre project. So the Dark Sabre podcast, the investigative series, is someone I met after I did my Indie Stump podcast. His name is John Staley. He's an Army sniper who's out now. He runs the Honor Hill Veterans Media Group, and he wanted to start a podcast. And we started talking about my case more in depth. And, we've only been talking for barely an hour. I mean, I summed up 10 years in about 10 minutes, right? So for people who really want to hear the details of the case and everything else, I mean, go ahead and listen to the Dark Sabre investigative series. And not only that, we started finding more cadets who are in the same situation as me, who are there now, who are being retaliated against with their medical records or retaliated against for reporting sexual assault. And keep in mind, this is 11 years later. So this has been going on for over a decade. And these are people who...
And this is what is a decade. We don't know about the previous, what happened before. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And it continues to keep growing because of the simple fact, nobody's raising awareness. And now that you're here and you're like, no, I'm fucking throwing up my red flags. I'm throwing up red flags to call you guys out on what you're doing. Like you said.
Well, the most dangerous part, I agree with you. And the most dangerous part of this is that people are so afraid of rank. No, don't get me wrong. In the Marine Corps, I learned to get scared of anything above my rank.
Right. No shit.
But what I've learned now is, now that I've been in the civilian world, I consider myself a successful civilian who's been able to find his purpose in the civilian world. I still get to serve my country and wear my uniform, but I'm an E4 and I'm not afraid of anybody anymore. I'm not afraid of any rank. I have gone, and the Colorado National Guard has been very supportive of me. They even went to the governor's office, and the governor won't even help me. He's too scared of the Air Force Academy. My congressmen are too
crazy, dude.
My congressmen, the senators in the state of Colorado, will not help because they're afraid of losing votes from Academy people. So I wrote letters to the President of the United States and Secretary of Defense.
You have to.
I got a letter back from the Secretary of Defense. Who the hell gets a letter back from the Secretary of Defense?
I didn't even know you would get one. No.
So I got a letter back last week. This happened actually last week. And the Secretary of Defense realized, they said, your medical records were unjustifiably changed. And the Air Force Board of Corrections and Military Records agrees to change your records back.
Get out of here, dude.
However, if you want your commission and your degree back from the Air Force Academy, you're going to have to file for another Board of Corrections and Military Records and present new evidence. So even the Secretary of Defense's office is admitting, even with the court decision, we screwed up, we made a mistake, but at the end of the day, who's going to tell us what to do?
No shit.
And this is where I tell people, I'm like, all these advocates that work with me and all the people that we advocate for now, including myself, my case, and many others, I'll be your plate carrier. I'm an E4 who will literally go to the Secretary of Defense for you. I don't care. What I've learned about is that it's not about rank anymore. It's about human respect. And it's about having the guts to do the right thing when nobody's looking. And, I started another podcast, last week, and it's because we're finishing up Dark Sabre season 1 in 2 weeks. And while we're recording season 2, it's going to take the whole summer to record season 2 before we publish it in January. It's like we talked about before we started the podcast. Podcasting has become therapy for me. I've talked to so many veterans, and it's actually helped me tell my story. It's helped more males come out and speak about how they've been assaulted. At first, it was embarrassing, and the first time my parents heard that I was assaulted was on my podcast this past few months, because I wasn't even going to tell my family, and because it's embarrassing, it is. But now I've realized is that by me talking, it's helping others talk and helping bring awareness. And now I have lobbyists who are working for me. I have people in Congress who are starting to connect with me. And I've realized that maybe everything happens for a reason. This whole Air Force Academy thing happened because meeting people like you on the Stone Vet podcast and everybody else is going to help actually make legislative change where our military can't abuse those who are swearing to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. If anyone is entitled to those rights in this country, our constitutional rights, it's those who serve to protect it.
No, you're absolutely right, man. And it's like you're saying how they classified you a conspiracy theorist. I mean, you see the memes now. A lot of people are like, remember those conspiracy theorists that they were telling you about this and telling you about that? I think you owe them an apology now because this shit's coming out. It's what I tell. It's what I tell. It's what I tell my people who listen to me. Listen to what I have to say, but take it with a grain of salt. Go and do your own research and see what the hell is going on in our country. It's like he said, the military is its own entity now. We don't have, they can do whatever the hell they want. And we've known that. I mean, if you serve this country and you serve for some time, you learned that the military does whatever the hell it wants to do and nobody's going to tell them they can't do it. I mean, look at Adam here. Look at the fucking story he has and look what he's dealing with right now. It's the military. The military screws us enough as it is. We go and we fight for our country. We do what we do. And then we get out and we say, hey, this is what's wrong with me. No, it's not. That's not what's wrong with you. So now we got to fight them and say, yeah, motherfucker, I'm broke. You broke me. I served my country and I'm broke. And I'm asking for my freaking disability check so I can try to survive in this fucking godforsaken country that I'm living in right now. Because guess what? I don't have a purpose anymore. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to be doing after I got out of the military. Nobody prepared me. Nobody helped me get my resume together. Nobody showed me what I could do after I got out of serving. And it's like, now you seeing it here with Adam's story. Adam got a hell of a story, dude. Like he said, go check out Dark Sabre. Go check out that podcast. He's telling you, like he's putting it out there so you guys can see it from his perspective of what's going on with him, what has happened to him while serving this country. We are all gung ho. We all freaking. We love our guns. We love our country. We love what we did while we were in. You know, people ask me all the time, "Do you miss the Corps?" I don't miss the Corps. I miss my brothers like Adam that I got to hang out with every day. That we were there. He was to my left and to my right. I had my brother, my battle buddy was with me. And it's like Adam saying, this is a therapy for him to be able to tell his story and help more people become more aware of how the government gave you that fucking green weenie. We all know about the big green weenie, right? But a lot of us don't want to talk about it. A lot of us don't. I mean, we're broke. I'm broke as hell. I've got issues that I deal with on a regular basis. I got issues with my kids. I got issues with my wife. I got issues with work. Why? Because the fucking government made me this way. Like I tell people, a lot of people are like, well, I don't have PTSD. I said, bullshit. Did you go to boot camp? Yeah. Did you graduate boot camp? Yeah. You got PTSD because when you went to boot camp, you're no longer Joe. You're no longer Sarah. You're no longer who you were when you went in. Now you are whatever the government created you to be, whether it's an airman or Space Force, Marines, Army, whatever. Now you're what they wanted you to be. You're no longer who you were when you came in. And so that's one of the biggest things. It's a struggle, dude. Like you said, it's like you found your purpose. After you got out, you found your purpose again. And you're like, hey, I'm good. Like, I know what I want to do. This is what I'm doing. And you've been fighting this, 11 years now is what you say? You just hit your 11-year anniversary on this?
Yeah. So, I mean, this has been 11 years, but I mean, if I was making this up, do you think I'd spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees and start a podcast if I was making this up and I couldn't prove it? I mean, like I said, the Dark Sabre podcast has been great at helping Air Force Academy cadets come forward and other people who have survived sexual assault and helping fix our academies. Because if our military is going to be full of corrupt officers, whether it's from West Point, Annapolis, or Air Force, who is leading our enlisted? You know what I mean? And there's ROTC and OTS. I understand that too. And it's not there are some great academy grads. And don't get me wrong. 10% of the people in the military are causing 90% of the problems.
Right.
And it's nothing wrong with getting them out. If we're going to kick people out, it should be those people, those leaders who are failing their soldiers, Marines, Guardians, Coast Guardsmen, sailors, whatever, right? And but like I said, I don't like talking about the negative stuff too, and that's why I started the EMBARK podcast, which is what I do on the side outside of Dark Sabres. Because people want to come and tell their stories to me, and they've done some amazing things, but they have no connection to the Air Force Academy, right?
Right.
So this is where I invite other people to come out and talk about what they're doing to advocate and all the positive things they're doing in the world, like people like you who are making a difference and helping vets connect and civilians connect and finding a purpose and finding a job and, going back to school and, doing all these other things. And I've just found a passion with this work and I love what I'm doing. And like I said to everyone I help is I'll be your plate carrier. I'll take those rounds for you because I'm not afraid to write a letter to the President of the United States or the Secretary of Defense, because at the end of the day, We're all just men and women, or however you identify. And
Right.
you get punched in the face, you're going to bleed the same color as anybody else. I promise you, no matter what rank you are. And I think that's something that we need to understand is not only advocating for those who have been wronged, but also advocating for ourselves.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and that's the biggest things. I mean, that's why I try to tell you guys. You have to. What is your passion? Me, my big passion is helping you guys. Whatever I can do to help you. I'm called the Stone Vet. The show's the Stone Vet is to break the stigma on cannabis, right? Like I said, I've got brothers who are doing $1 million research projects. I got brothers who are writing freaking 60-page documentation and submitting them to the Veteran Health Administration. We've got advocates. There's tons of advocates in the veteran community. And that's one thing maybe you could be passionate about. What are you passionate about? Do you want to be an advocate for whatever you want to fight for? We have to help each other. That's the biggest struggle that we have, is that nobody will help us. As veterans, nobody wants to help us except our brothers and sisters. You may find some civilians that say, yeah, I love veterans and I want to help them, but to an extent. How can I help you to an extent? But to help our brothers and sisters is what we are supposed to be doing. We are our brother's keeper, right? That's what we're supposed to do, is help advocate for them and help them where they're trying to get to that next level. I always tell people, if I don't know it as a Stone Vet, as Sergeant G, if I don't know it, I know somebody who does, that can get us get us where we need to be. And that's the best part. That's why I love doing the show. I love doing the show because I get to meet new brothers and sisters that I would never have met in my entire life. Like Adam, I would have never met him. There's nothing that we wouldn't probably never cross paths. But I got my sister Callie said, you need to talk to this guy. This guy has a story. So guess what? I'm gonna check him out. I'm gonna see what his story's about. My God, I was like, hey, would you be willing to come on this show? I'm not no big time. I ain't got no 80 million downloads. I ain't got 1,000 viewers. I got my family. I got my community watching my show that love watching what I do, that loves watching the new information that I'm able to bring out on a weekly basis, man. And this is what it's about, is supporting our brothers and supporting our sisters, making sure that they understand, hey, I got your six, brother. That's why my tag outline is we got your six, because my community understands how we're supposed to help support our brothers and help support our sisters so that they can get where they need to be. And if they need our support to get them to that next level, that's exactly what we're doing to get them to that next level, man.
Yeah, Juan, I'm so thankful and grateful that, we connected. And like I said, I truly believe everything happens for a reason. And
absolutely,
if it's not for guys like you and gals reaching out to me and talking, I mean, if no one else is going to make those changes, it's if our senators, our congressmen, right, our representatives, and if our chain of command aren't going to make the necessary changes that we need, then who else is going to?
We have to do it, right? You're absolutely right, Adam. Like I said, those governors and those senators, they work for you. You voted them in. They're working for you. And if they don't want to work for you, then it's our job to take that seat so we can make sure that the people get the help that they need, that our brothers and our sisters get the help they need. It's like he said, they don't want to touch it because they're like, I don't want to touch it. That's too high up. No, motherfucker, I don't give a fuck how high that is. I'll touch it. You want me to touch it? It's like he said, I'm a specialist and I don't give a fuck what rank you are. I'll touch it. I'll go talk to anybody, whoever you want me to talk to, man.
To be fair, I think I have earned the rank of the saltiest specialist in the United States Army, because I don't know any other E4 who is an academy grad who went to Marine OCS and ended up in the Army. I don't know anyone else, so I'm proud of that title. I think it's great. I want that on my gravestone when I die. The saltiest specialist in the Army.
Saltiest specialist of the Army. Absolutely, brother.
And like I said, I haven't been deployed. I'm not a combat vet or anything else, but the one thing I will tell people is, would you rather be stabbed 14 times in 30 seconds and survive and be able to recover? Or would you rather spend 20 years of your life trying to get back your reputation? And that's what I challenge a lot of people is, guys like, well, I served in combat and I did this and you're a pussy. And I go, how would you like to spend most of your adult life fighting to get your reputation back because the government and your chain of command took it away from you and dishonored you and your family? I would trade places with anybody any day when it comes to that. And, it's not putting that down or anything else. I'm just saying that it's been a hard road, but I think with podcasts like this and advocacy moving forward, I'm hoping that I'm going to help change the system so that whatever happened to me never happens to anyone ever again. And for anyone else or any of your listeners, if they want to be involved, please reach out to me. I mean, I'm pretty simple. You can find me on Instagram, Adam DeRito, Twitter, Adam DeRito, AdamDeRito.com, DERITO. Listen to the Dark Sabre podcast. And if you're an Academy grad and you need help, or you know people from the Dark Sabre side, I will gladly bring you on the show for season 2. And if you're just a normal person, whether you're a civilian or you're a vet and you're doing great things and making changes, or you have great career advice, come on my other podcast, the EMBARK podcast. I'll be glad to help everyone out and spread your message as well. And like I said, Juan, I'm so grateful for talking to you, and I hope that we stay in contact.
No, absolutely.
And keep pushing this advocacy stuff, because we're going to be the ones to make that change, and I'm proud to work with people like you on these things.
No, absolutely, brother. That's what it's about. Like this story right here, it has to get out. People have to hear it. People have to know what's going on in our military. We're fucked. You join the military, you're fucked. Like if they want to screw you, they will screw you. Talk to Adam, he'll tell you. If they don't like you, they'll have their way with you. And it's true. No matter what branch of service you're serving in. If they don't like you, they will get rid of you, and they'll do whatever they want with you. You know, these stories that you're doing like this, they need to be told. And before too long, I guarantee it, there's going to be something on 2020. The Adam DeRito story on 2020. I can see it, and they're going to put it out there, because people need to be made aware. Regardless if you believe we're conspiracy theorists or whatever the case may be, it's like Adam said. He said, "Look at the numbers. The numbers are there. Just follow the numbers." You know. And so this, you know, absolutely, brother. That's true. But we all got to be advocates. We all have to do something to help. Don't just sit on your butt watching the show like, okay, whatever. Get up, stand up, say something. It's like he said, he's the saltiest fucking E4 in the damn army. He's the saltiest specialist in the army, man. Get up and do something. Advocate for something, regardless what it is. I don't care what it is. Advocate for it, because you're going to find your passion. You're going to find your purpose again, man. Adam, I appreciate you hanging out with me on the Stone Vet, hanging out, enjoying this Friday weather. It's starting to cool down now. The sun's going down, so it's starting to get a little bit cooler out right now. You know, guys, like I tell you guys, always hit that daggum subscribe button. Come and know when I'm getting new episodes every Friday. Every Wednesday and every Friday, I got a new episode dropping. My Wednesday episodes are nonchalant. It's just the stupidity that I'm dealing with at work and in life. And sometimes I talk about what's going on in our country. Like I said, Adam's getting screwed. Maybe I'm going to have to dig a little bit more so I can get some more dirt out there so you guys can see what's actually going on. And maybe it'd be like, oh, shit, this is really going on. Go check it out yourself. Do your research, man.
Yep.
I want to thank my sponsor, Rafa 180, for sponsoring me, allowing me to be able to shoot these shows with great brothers and sisters that are able to come on the show, man. So like I tell you guys ever been skeptical about using CBD? Why not try the best? This CBD is being processed in the only FDA regulated lab out of the Midwest, man. It's like I tell people, they try CBD and they're like, oh, it didn't work for me. It's because like any other medication, you got to find that right dosage. Like I tell you guys, go check out Rafa180.com. Rafa 180 Facebook. If you want to try a great CBD product, it's definitely the place to go. Appreciate it, Adam. I appreciate you hanging out with me on this Friday, able to raise awareness and tell people what's going on and tell your story, man. It's a horrible story, but hey, we're going to advocate for you, and we're going to make sure that you get what you deserve, your rights as a human being and as an American citizen and a soldier. You a soldier now. I can I say you part Marine soldier guy.
I'm like a transformer or something like that.
No shit.
Made from all different parts. But yep. Once again, Juan, thank you so much for bringing me on. And if any of your listeners need an advocate or need to reach out and talk to me about an assault or something else they need help with finding the right place to vent to, please reach out to me. I'll more than gladly help you with whatever you're going through.
Absolutely, guys. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me on this Friday, guys. Remember, here at the Stone Vet, we got you 6.
Smoke, chill, relax. It's Friday. You ain't got a job. We gon' get high today. Dark of the flesh, the deep of the roots, green of the weed. You know this true. Puff, puff, pass. Trying to get high. Got high blood pressure. We coming down.